Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the idea of converting and graphing linear equations when they're in standard form. So go ahead and follow along with your notes. To convert equations into slope-intercept form, you need to solve for y. Okay, remember it looks like y equals mx plus b. So what I'm saying here is that you need to get y alone. So you're going to use zero pairs and inverse operations to isolate the y variable. Again, we're trying to get it to be y equals mx plus b. Okay, so let's go ahead. Those are all the word notes that we're going to be taking, vocabulary, and we're going to start with example 1. So if I look at example 1, I read 2x plus 3y equals 9. Okay? Now what it's asking me to do here is to graph this equation. I only know how to graph equations that are in y equals mx plus b form. So what would be nice is if I could get this y variable alone. Okay? So this is how we're going to do that. So just like when I'm solving a regular equation, I'm going to find my balance right at the equal sign. Okay? Now, if I look at 2x plus 3y, the 2x is actually being added to the 3y. And then the 3 is multiplying the y. So if you want to use this idea of SADMAP, you want to make sure that you're thinking about the y and not the x. So, do I see anything subtracting the y? No. Do I see anything adding to the y? And that's where I was saying that the 2x is actually being added to the y. So the inverse operation of addition is subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 2x on both sides of the equation. Okay, so this makes a zero pair. And now I'm left with 3y equals, and this is super important here. This is a giant mistake that a lot of people make. A lot of people say, well, 9 minus 2x, well, that's just going to be 7x. That is incorrect. These are not like terms, so you need to keep the x's separate from non-x's. So this is what we're going to do. We're just going to bring down the negative 2x, and then we're going to put the 9 off to the side. Now, is the 9 positive or negative? It's positive, so we're going to write plus 9. If it were negative, we would write minus 9. Well, this is nice because now we just have 3y equals negative 2x plus 9. All I have to do now is separate the 3 from the y. Remember that when you have a number right next to a variable, that means that they're being multiplied. So if they're being multiplied, then the inverse operation is going to be division. So I'm going to go ahead and divide by 3. Now when I divide by 3, whenever I multiply or divide something on both sides of an equation, I actually do divide or multiply every single number. Okay? Now I simplify this. 3 divided by 3, that creates 1y. I put down my equal sign. Does 3 go into negative 2? No, it doesn't. So I'm just going to write it as a fraction. Negative 2 over 3x. That's from right here. And then does 3 go into 9? It does. 3 goes into 9 3 times. So that'll be plus 3. I've gotten my equation into slope-intercept form, and now I can graph it. So remember, this is the y-intercept, and this is my slope. So I start at my y-intercept, so on the y-axis I go to positive 3, and I draw a point, and then I use my slope. Remember, this is rise over run, or the change in y over the change in x. So I go down 2 spaces, 1, 2, because it's negative, and then to the right 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3. And I draw my next point. And then I can draw my straight line through that. Now, a common question that I get is, Mr. Rizkallah, is the 3 negative as well? Really, the whole fraction is negative, but if you just consider the 2 negative, right, and the 3 positive, then it'll work out for you. Because a negative divided by a positive makes a negative. Okay, let's move on. Let's do example 2. So example 2 looks very similar. And just so you guys know, this is standard form. It's ax plus by equals c. Some number plus some number x plus some number y equals some other number. Okay? So now, again, I'm trying to get y alone. I'm trying to isolate the variable. So I'm going to separate my equation at the equal sign so I can keep my equation balanced. I can use SADMAP again. But really what you're going to start noticing is that this x term is what you want to start getting rid of on this side, on the left side, and moving over to the right side. Okay? So if we read this out, this says negative 6x add 3 multiplied by y. Okay? So do we see any subtraction? Now I know this is a little bit confusing, but this negative sign actually works as subtraction. So we'll see inverse of subtraction, addition. So I will add 6x. See how I'm creating a 0 pair here. I'm adding 6x here. Okay. So this makes a 0 pair. So now I've got 3y equals, again, the common error here, people say negative 9 plus 6x, oh, that's just negative 3x. You cannot combine these terms. Keep the 6x separate from the negative 9. So you just bring down the 6x, and this is the situation where it's minus 9, so you just bring down negative 9. Okay? So now I can keep going through SADMAP. Do I see any addition on this side? No. Do I see any division? No. Do I see any multiplication? You should say yes. 3 multiplied by y. So I'm going to divide 3. Remember, when I divide every term. So 3 divided by 3, that makes 1. That's exactly what I wanted. I have 1y. 6 divided by 3. 3 does go into 6. It goes into it 2 times. 2x. Okay? And then negative 9 divided by 3, that makes negative 3. Again, I got my equation into slope-intercept form. This is the y-intercept. This is the slope. So I can graph it. So I'll start at negative 3 on the y-axis. Remember, this is like 2 over 1. So I'll go up 2 and to the right 1 space. And I can keep doing that to make sure I have a really straight line. Up 2 to the right 1, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1. And I can draw my line. Okay, let's move on. Okay, example 3. Example 3 is just about the same. There's only one little difference. It's just that this negative 2y, right? So that number is negative, so you're going to end up having to divide by a negative. So let's just go through the same process. I split my equation at the equal sign. Okay? We should have found a pattern by now that we're going to start with whatever term is not attached to the y. So this 3x. So it's a positive 3x. I got to create a 0 pair to get rid of it. I subtract 3x on both sides to keep it balanced. So that makes a 0 pair. So now I got negative 2y. Notice how I had to bring down this negative. Okay? Negative 8 minus 3x, I cannot combine those. I make it negative 3x minus 8. This is negative 2 multiplied by y, so I'm going to divide negative 2 by everything. This is where it's going to be super important that we know our rules of negatives and positives. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 makes a positive 1y. Negative 3 divided by negative 2, it's a positive, but it's going to be a fraction, because 2 does not go into 3 evenly. And then negative 8 divided by negative 2, also positive, but it does divide evenly into 4. Again, this is my y-intercept. Again, this is my slope. And now I can graph. So positive 4 on the y-axis. You'll notice here you can't go up 3 and to the right 2. Okay, so what's the opposite of up 3, right 2? The opposite would be down 3, left 2, which still works. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Down 3, left 2. Because if I went up 3 to the right 2, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, notice how all of these points would line up into the same line. Okay? Example 4. Example 4, 5x plus y equals 4. Now some of you might be looking at this and might say, oh, well, we haven't done this. Actually, this is even more convenient because y is already by itself. Nothing is multiplying it. So all I have to do is split my equation at the equal sign and get rid of this 5x. What's the opposite of positive 5x? Negative 5x. Negative 5x. This creates a zero pair, so now I'm left with y equals, I can't just subtract these, I need to put them side by side. So I'm going to put my x term first, negative 5x, bring this 4 around, and is the 4 positive or negative? It is positive. That one was just one step. So my final equation is y equals negative 5x plus 4. This is my y-intercept, and this is my slope. Remember, this is over 1. So I go up 4 on the y-axis, down 5 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and to the right 1 space, and I draw my line. Okay, and here are the last 2 examples. We're going to go through them relatively quickly. Just want to make sure that you guys are following the patterns here. Example 5, first step, find my equal sign, find my balance. I'm trying to get the y alone, so I'm going to get rid of this other 8x. How do I make a zero pair with positive 8x? I make it negative 8x and negative 8x here. So this makes a zero pair. Now I'm left with 2y equals, again, cannot subtract these, bring down my x term, bring down my non-x term. Notice how I put a negative because it was negative 12. Okay, and then this is 2 multiplied by y, so I have to use the inverse operation, which is division, and divide everything by 2. This makes 1y. Negative 8 divided by 2, that divides evenly. This becomes negative 4x, and this becomes negative 6. Okay, this is my y-intercept, and this is my slope. My y-intercept will be slightly off the graph here at negative 6. Just draw an extra dash to give yourself a negative 6. Negative 4 over 1. If I have a negative slope, I need my line to look like this. This means I'm going down, negative, or decreasing. Okay, so the opposite of down 4, right 1, the same would be up 4, left 1. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, left 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, left 1. Notice if I draw a line through these, then they will be decreasing in a negative slope. And here's the final one. Split my equation at the equal sign. I'm trying to get y by itself, so I'm going to try and get rid of this x term by creating a zero pair. Positive 3x on this side to keep it balanced. This makes a zero pair, so now I've got negative 4y. I cannot add these and make it 11x. I keep them separate. 3x, positive 8. This is negative 4 multiplied by y. So I have to use the inverse operation. Divide by negative 4, divide by negative 4, divide by negative 4. Negative 4 divided by negative 4 is positive 1y. So that's that right there. If I have a positive divided by a negative, this right here, that makes the whole fraction negative. So that's going to be negative 3 over 4x. Positive divided by a negative, that makes the whole thing negative, negative 2. This is my y-intercept. This is my slope. So I start at negative 2 on the y-axis. This is rise over run, so I go down 3. 1, 2, 3. To the right 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Draw my next point. And I draw a straight line through these points. Okay, let me know if you have any questions, and that is the video for today.